I can't keep my mouth shut anymore about this. About the ICE raids that's been happening in Charlotte and here in Raleigh. The leftists and the mainstream media has everybody scared, right? And saying, "Oh, it's the Gestapo. Oh my God, it's the Nazis. They have to get us. Oh my God." If you're here illegally, you're going to get got. And yes, that's what I voted for. Yeah, I got friends all over the political spectrum, right? From the left, middle, conservative, everything in between. I try not to hold people's political beliefs against them, but it's real hard right now listening to some of my liberal friends, and I'm wondering, what is your IQ? Is it? It must be room temperature. That's what it must be. I recently had some friends that were, being very disrespectful. And it's a friend of a friend, and some of these people know me from, like, I don't know, school or whatever, from years ago, and they only comment on my stuff when it's about politics. They don't comment on my music, on my pictures, anything I'm doing, that's positive. They don't, comment on that stuff, but they only want to comment when it's politics, and they can be negative and they can poo-poo something. And then, like the other day, I was talking about, and I'll probably make a whole video on this, about Trump signing the budget and Mitch McConnell slid in the hemp bill that is basically banning the whole hemp industry in America. That's ridiculous, right? And now 300,000 jobs are going to get lost because of that. Because Trump's not reading the whole bill. He just wants to say, okay, yeah, we agree now. Let's open up the government, right? And then one of my liberal friends, right, he said, thanks for being honest. Thanks for being honest. Like I don't put forth my ideas in an honest way all the time. I'm always being as honest as possible, right? I look at all sides of the political spectrum in the news, right? I just don't take the mainstream media and take whatever they're going to force down my throat. I look at independent reports. I look at everything. And then I decide on myself what's right or what's wrong. Almost everyone else, they just look at exactly what's force fed to them, whatever in their echo chamber. And that's what they do. And everyone's just, in this zone of bullshit, and it's getting tiresome. And these people think they're smart. They think they're making intelligent decisions when all they're doing is just taking whatever's given to them and whatever feels good. And it's just a virtue signal. And I hate the virtue signaling. It's getting painful to hear. All the liberals going like, oh my God, they're profiling brown people. Right. And even my mom was telling me, yesterday, probably half joking about, hey, carry your passport. Make sure you got, carry your passport. Make sure, you got your documents on you. Right. Because you might be a little too tan sometimes. And like, what? If I'm driving and someone asks for your ID, and because there's a traffic stop, because I know that they're busting illegals down here. Oh, yeah, I got an ID. Oh, yeah, what do you want? Yeah, I got my driver's license, got my veteran's card. What do you want? I even got my passport card. What do you want that? Huh? Yeah, because I got paperwork. See, liberals are all about, they have the bigotry of low expectations. I remember during the 2016 election, we're talking about taking, needing voters' ID. And all the liberals are being extremely racist, saying, oh, black folks, that's going to disenfranchise them because they don't have IDs. They don't know how to get an ID. Tons of liberals say that, politicians, the media, and that's extremely racist, right? And black folks in large still support the Democrats that are extremely racist. Even Malcolm X was saying that, there's no one more racist than a white liberal. And, that's exactly what's going on. And the same sentiment happens when they say, oh, who's going to do your landscaping? Who's going to put on your roof? Or who's going to be at the construction site? That's what they say. And that's extremely racist because, the Democrats always needed their slaves, huh? They always needed their servants. But you know what? Those jobs aren't just low-paying jobs. They always say, oh, Americans aren't going to do those jobs. Those jobs are hard. I mean, I've always done hard labor. I've always been a blue-collar guy. For example, when I was plumbing here in Raleigh, we hired a guy from Guatemala, and he was a helper for another competing company, right? And he was here legally. He was here on refugee status. And, he told me the deal with his country was he had to be here 10 years without, he had to keep his nose clean. If he got one DWI, he got in trouble, he's out of here. And so he has to earn everything. But after that, he's a citizen, gets his green card, and he's good to go. And so someone like him, he got that status, and he's here, and he has to earn it. And I fully support that. He told me that he kept telling me, hey, man, you can probably get paid a little bit more if you go to a competing company because they pay a guy like you more because you know how to read blueprints, you can speak real well, and that's what they need on these large construction sites because all the immigrants that they hire do the actual roughing on the construction site. And I was like, what, are they all illegal or something? And he goes, probably a good percentage of them. you know, and none of them speak English. That's what he told me. He didn't want to out them like that. And I'm thinking, what? And they pay like 32 an hour, right? Those are jobs that are good damn jobs. But that unscrupulous employer is now possibly hiring illegals. So, he don't have to pay them like other benefits and things like that. It's just be under the table. And just recently, I was a project manager for a roofing company, and they hire different subcontractors and things like that. And I get to know the crews, and I'll talk to the foreman. I throw my drone in the air. I get on the roof with a 360 camera just to really get some good marketing material and make sure everything's done the way it needs to be done, right? And I asked some of those roofers, how much I get paid, and like $350 a day around here, and that's good money for North Carolina, and all under the table. And when I start taking the cameras out, the foreman would go, "Hey man," and this was every damn time, whether it's a slightly different crew or whatever. Every new crew I took the camera out on, everybody's looking. Some guys cover their face up, throw a little COVID mask on, or all of a sudden they're looking at me strange. They're all talking, and then the foreman will come on over and he'll go, "Hey man, some of the guys on the crew don't like the cameras being out because of Trump." And I was like, "What? So what's going on?" And then he'll never really say it, but he's hinting, wink, wink, because he ain't supposed to be here. He don't have real paperwork. Getting paid $350 a day. So from my experience with roofing and in plumbing, that's a lot of pay for that job. So no, it's not just the low paying jobs and the hard work that Americans won't do. There's tons of Americans that want to rough in buildings and all that. They'd rather work on a construction site, right? They don't want to be a residential plumber. They'd rather have construction hours. They clock in and there's a time they clock out, and they just do it every day, go to the same site. But those jobs for that particular company, they gave to illegals. And yeah, they're not just a migrant. They're not undocumented. No, it's documented that they need to get the hell out, right? And I don't know how you can support that. How is that being racist? That America is the only country that can't enforce their actual immigration laws, right? In other countries, if I break in, I'm getting arrested. I'm getting punished. And then they'll deport me after I get punished based on me breaking their laws. But as an American, the American voters can't demand that. We can't demand actually that our laws need to be upheld. And that's racist. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. I'm tired of that bullshit. And liberals, all they do is virtue signal all day. They want to feel good. They want to feel the butterflies. But virtue signaling is ruining our country completely, because on top of printing trillions of dollars every year, printing just constant bleeding cash and giving all our money to foreign aid. When Biden and Kamala Harris allowed like 20 million immigrants to come in here, illegals to come in. What happened there? A lot of housing got taken up because they got to live somewhere. They're not living in tents. And then the food and stuff that we bring into this country and the gas and everything else, these things are finite resources. Although America has a lot of resources, there's only a certain amount that we bring in, and then we adjust amounts. But if we don't know there's 20 more million people on the books, what happens? There's supply and demand. Now there's more demand on that supply. Prices go up even more based on inflation. And liberals are the ones really complaining about inflation. I mean, everybody is. But they're the ones that want to complain about it. I don't want to hear it, because you want to let illegals in and you want to say, oh, no, they're migrants and they have rights too. No, you don't. You don't have any damn rights. You're not an American. American citizens have rights in our country, right? Now, everyone has human rights. We're not supposed to abuse people, right? But, and no one's being abused. They're being arrested and accounted for and then getting the hell up out of here. So, yes, I do support it. And no, that's not racist. That's called upholding our laws in America, right? And when I see that 50,000 students didn't show up to school, the parents weren't allowing them to go to school, is that because they're all illegal, or they're just afraid agents are going to hop into school? Because DHS reported in September that they're not going to be going to schools, and that's just complete propaganda from the mainstream media, just fear mongering. But all the liberals just lap it up, because whatever makes them feel good, whatever makes them feel like they're righteous and they're better than everybody else, that's what they're going to agree with. But then there's articles right now that, there's business closures across the triangle. Business closures due to Border Patrol and ICE being in the area. And a business owner in particular at a restaurant said, the staff wants to make sure that their customers are safe. So that's why they're closed down. It's like, no, maybe your staff's illegal. Maybe your staff ain't supposed to be here, huh? And you don't want them to get busted, and then you get busted. If you're a business owner hiring illegals, you need to get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Point blank. That's why the American people voted in Trump. That's what we wanted him to do. And Obama can deport 3.5 million people over his 8-year tenure as president, right? President Obama can do that. No one bats an eye, right? No one does. Bush, deported about, I think, 860,000 people, right? And then before him, Bill Clinton, I think he deported about 2.1 million people. Because Democrats used to support, getting illegal people out of here to protect American jobs and resources. What happened? Right? They changed on a lot of things. Back then they didn't support gay marriage either, right? And now they do. There's a lot of things that they flip-flopped on. They flip-flop like they're walking through the beach. And, damn. And then now the liberals are saying it's racist to uphold your immigration laws and that we're profiling people. Look, they just don't come here and then look at every brown person and start questioning them, right? They have data on how many people are in a certain area. Like in Charlotte, it was reported that 160,000 illegal immigrants are in Charlotte. And I believe the Charlotte metro area, is in Charlotte is like 960,000 people, I believe. And then the metro area itself, beyond that's even bigger, like 1.6 million. So we're talking 160,000 people illegal in that area. And they go to that area because they have light policies. They have sanctuary Democrat policies in these states, and similar in other Democrat cities in North Carolina. So that's why there's a bunch in Raleigh as well. So that's completely unacceptable, right? But they want to say, oh yeah, we can't get all these people out of here. That'd be racist. They're already here from breaking the law in the first place. How much clearer can we make that? They already broke the law. How much clearer can it be? Get the hell out. But I can't keep quiet on these things anymore. So many people want to talk that trash by reposting all their echo chamber bullshit, but they don't want to come on here and actually speak just because they're cowards, right? And they just want to virtue signal and do whatever makes them feel good. Whatever makes them, feel the fifis, the little butterflies, they want to then just support all those causes. But the law doesn't care about your feelings, and I don't either. And I was literally a plumber for many years in this area, just unclogging toilets. But now I'm just gonna unclog all this bullshit.
You bury me now. I just sang slow now. I'm the ripple when you throw the stone. Now revenge is resonance. Your future's built on my resonance. Feel me in the quiet, feel me in the loud. I'm the crowd when you're alone in the crowd. Ghost you never.